Hello and welcome back to Rec and Rule. My name is Brian, and I'm very pumped up today to be opening up a copy of the Transformers deck building game by Renegade Game Studios. This had a limited early release at Gen Con this past weekend. I'm filming this on September 22nd. Gen Con was the weekend of like the 17th, 18th. So Renegade had a limited number of copies of the Transformers game, the G.I. Joe deck building game, and also the Power Rangers Zeo kind of standalone expansion for their Power Rangers deck building game, airshipped over. And it's fairly common that companies do this to build buzz and to kind of like get some of the games out there. Now, typically these games would then see kind of regular release a few weeks later, maybe a month later. But right now, like the entire shipping world is a complete disaster. So I believe that the current projected release for the game is meant to be in November. It is currently on a ship coming over from China. And if you're aware of any of the kind of logistical nightmares going on with that, like there are apparently a ton of freighters that are waiting offshore on the West Coast, waiting to be unloaded. Like it's kind of jammed up right now. So just anything coming over from China, board games in particular right now are just, it's a mess. So kind of roll with the punches, but I'm not great at being patient. I was not at Gen Con myself, but I was able to contact and reach out to a few people who were and was able to get a copy of this. And spoiler alert, I did also get a copy of the G.I. Joe game and also the Zeo Power Rangers deck building game expansion as well. So we're going to take a look at them. But of course, we had to go with this bad boy first, right? The plan is that I'm going to open it up. And from there, I'm going to get it over to Joe and RJ and Kevin, Frenchie, and have them kind of start to also play on camera. This way you guys can see it in action. You can get our impressions of it, etc., etc., etc. What is pretty neat, and let me get this out of the way for a moment, is when you pre-order from Renegade, sorry, the glare on that is kind of bad, they give you a bonus. So in this case, it comes as a bonus pack, and this is very kind of familiar looking for people who are coming over from a certain trading card game. And it's kind of cool that it's just reminiscent of that. And they've not done this for their other deck building games when they have promos. So, for example, for the G.I. Joe game, which also had that limited release at Gen Con, the promo for that comes in kind of this small, like monochrome box, which is also a cool design, by the way. And then their Power Rangers deck building game, which had, that came out a couple months ago, had something similar to this, but it was kind of like thinner but longer, but like the same general style. So the fact that we are getting this for the bonus pack is pretty neat. Just to kind of like give you guys a quick look here, it is kind of neat that they've got like the shiny part up there, and then also for the text down bottom here. And again, nothing too crazy. It is simply just a mirror of the box art, right? Which, before we crack this bad boy open, let's also just kind of examine that for a moment. I believe that the art is done by Matt Frank, and this is excellent. I like Megatron kind of looming and kind of like almost laughing maniacally in the background over there. You've got our Autobot team over here, and these six, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they are the playable characters in this first game. And of course, we'll have a bonus playable character in this pack right here. It's kind of neat. The Autobots have kind of like a raised up kind of like gloss effect to it that's not there in the background. So it looks cool. It's also not, it might be here, can't quite tell. The sides of the box. So this here is just cover art, and it's not as if kind of like it's just photoshopped, like the art from the car is kind of put together. Like this seems to be a unified cover. I'm not an art expert, but it seems to be. And then I believe that this is RC's character art, or maybe it's going to be the art if she has a card in the game. We'll see. And then, of course, I'll see if I can get this where you guys can see it. We have Megatron there in the background, some Alex Milne art over there from More Than Meets the Eye, right, by IDW, comic book series. And then we kind of flip around to the other side. We have Bumblebee, and I do like that art as well. And then if I can get it to work here, you guys can kind of see this is some Devastator action, right? You see kind of the crane for Hook right over there. So kind of some foreshadowing there, perhaps. You take a look at the back over here, you can see the game in action, the contents, some description up over here. We've got Brawl, kind of like here in the art. And then just kind of neat down here, neat detail. I kind of like that the idea of like the ages 13 plus for the, like, I guess the adult Autobot symbol, and you got like the kid Autobot symbol. You can play 1 to 5 players and takes 45 to 90 minutes. And, you know, random other information. So here, designers are Matt Hyra and Dan Blanchett. And yeah, we'll come back to this in a second. But while we're here, and before I kind of cut, let's open this bad boy up, right? So you've got your kind of like pre-cut little area pool, and then same down here. Oh man, watch me like tear Jazz in half. Let's be careful. I'm actually a little bit nervous now, just kind of talking about this. Let's actually do it on camera. So we have just like a little standee. It's kind of neat that you get an extra. I know some games don't always do that. And we have Jazz's standee. Let me see if I can get that to focus a little bit better. This will work better when I'm kind of like cutting and can focus a little bit more easily. You kind of get the idea there. And let me try to get these cards carefully out. So these are not a surprise. We've already seen these cards on the website. So we have Sunstreaker as an Autobot robot. We have Sideswipe. We have Frenzy. And we also have Vortex. And we'll talk a little bit more about kind of like what some of these things mean. From like a flavor type of win, it is neat that Sideswipe gets a bonus if Sunstreaker is either in play or if he's out on the field in the Matrix. And then Sunstreaker is kind of like more standalone, basically. Sorry, again, I'll get this to focus better. And then, of course, we have Jazz as a playable character, our 7th playable character. And again, all this information is already available. I don't know if we had seen his car art, though. So kind of neat to see. All right, and kind of like before I start to kind of do some cuts and take things section by section, I do want to just kind of open the box so you guys can see what it looks like inside. So again, I kind of had pre-opened parts of this to make it go a little bit more smoothly. We have like a cross promotion type of thing over here. You have the rulebook, which again, they've posted this on the website, so this is not a surprise to us. Paper quality, good, seems strong. And I do want to, because I was looking at this earlier, I do just want to kind of draw attention here because a lot of the people who are more active answering some of the questions, and again, sorry, it's not quite focusing correctly. Some of the people who are more active in terms of answering questions in the Facebook group are very familiar names looking right here. So let's make sure we give those people the props that they deserve. And then kind of just going through into the box a little bit more. One of the first things that you have a sheet of cardboard. So these right here are meant to show that you've used some of the movement from the cards that you play. Oh, sorry. That's what those are. And then if you flip over to the other side, it's showing that there is kind of like a bonus to power. These here are all meant to help you track VPs, victory points. These over here are meant to help you kind of keep track of the fact that there is a start of turn effect, or the other side, an ongoing effect that you need to pay attention to because of a card that's out there. And then you also have the standees for the characters, and it's the same art on either side. All right, but all of them look good. And yeah, so Bumblebee and RC, those are the art on the side of the box. Okay, and you guys can kind of see everything right there. And then some other things that we have. We have 2 big old giant stacks of cards, and we'll take a closer look at them in just a little bit. We have some Energon cubes, and there are two different sizes. Let's see if I can bust out two of them. So you have a smaller size and a larger size. The larger size, they are meant to count for 5 as you are playing. Let's get those back in there real fast and not spill it all over my floor. Kind of like a nice translucent pink color, reminiscent of the cartoon. It's brighter, like a brighter, kind of more neon pink than what's probably showing up on camera. The lighting is going to probably be hard to get. You've got some more little plastic holders for the standees. And then you also have the character cards too. And we'll kind of take a look at these, and I'll make sure that it is a little bit more clear, a little bit better focused. I'll open these up in a second. I want to also call attention to the fact that this insert is actually pretty good. The Power Rangers one, the original one, I haven't looked at the Zeo one yet, but it wasn't really designed for sleeved cards. And a lot of times companies don't do that. Like, this is more essentially designed just to keep everything contained as it's being shipped and like not banging around getting damaged. But this actually does fit sleeved cards. I did test it. Now, I tend to like sleeves that are a little bit kind of like thicker and a little bit longer, that kind of just offer more protection. Dragon Shield is my preferred brand, especially for something like this where you're going to shuffle the cards up a lot, and they actually do fit. With the Power Rangers one, essentially, like, they kind of went too high. So if you put the rule book on top, it would kind of like squeeze the sleeves down, and I didn't like that. So I just got rid of the insert for the Power Rangers version. But this, I tested really quick. Dragon sleeves do fit pretty well here. Now, I don't know yet if you sleeve everything that's in this box, if it's all going to fit here and then also in here as well. Dragon sleeves do go in here. It's a little bit tighter than I would like, but it doesn't seem as if it's going to kind of like cause any creasing or anything on the sleeve. If you use a tighter brand of sleeve, kind of like a perfect fit type of thing, you're going to have no problem. Like, it's going to slide in there perfectly fine. And then also, you guys can kind of see here, there's an easy way to kind of like grab the card and kind of pull it out so it doesn't get stuck at the bottom. You also have some kind of like little trays here for some of the tokens, I'm assuming. I'm guessing that this right here is probably for the standees or possibly the Energon cubes. And then here, this is a good spot for the character cards. I do want to also point out the character cards are kind of a weird size. I believe that they're 3 inches by 4 inches. There are sleeves available for these. Unfortunately, there are not top loaders. So I kind of remember from an older Transformers game that was out that I liked the feel of that top loader, kind of like doing that flip. Just felt a little bit more powerful. So you can get sleeves, but you can't get top loaders. And I'll have a link to kind of like the brand for the sleeves that you can get for this size in the video. Let me pause, and we'll take a closer look at the character cards. And let's begin by taking a look at the character cards. Now, in general, at least so far, the alt mode is going to give you better movement. So here you have 2 movement natively, right? But usually they're going to be, they're not going to be as effective at fighting in alt mode. So in this case here, it looks like Ratchet has a built-in ability that allows him to transform for free. You typically would have to spend Energon to do that. And then in general, for most characters, when they battle in alt mode, they're at -1 power. They're less effective. This is Ratchet in bot mode. So this is his native ability. So Ratchet in general seems to be focused a little bit more on supporting other players. So in this case, his assists get +1 range, and then if they're not resolved, then you get to put them back into your hand. When you play an assist, like, you can help out another player. If yours essentially is not selected for whatever reason, it gets scrapped, but in this case, you don't face a penalty for that. These here are Energon abilities, so you can pay Energon to activate these. In this case, so you are getting a bonus for removing damage cards from other players this turn. And then here, again, you're able to get rid of damage that other players have, and this looks like it would also include yourself as well. The Ratchet a little bit more support oriented. For RC, so here's RC in alt mode. She doesn't have any kind of native abilities, but she does move faster than the other characters do. And then in bot mode, she's a little bit more focused around maneuvers. In this case, first time you play a maneuver during each player's turn, because again, you could play it as an assist. You're able to draw a card. And then again, you can spend Energon to activate these abilities. We have Wheeljack, and Wheeljack is the example that they give in the rules manual. So we've seen him already. So again, Wheeljack is going to be focused around technology. Right? And when he plays technology cards, he gets bonuses for that. Move on from Wheeljack, we have Ironhide. I don't think we've seen his van art yet. So again, average speed. In this case, the first time you transform, you get +1 power, right? We go back to here. And in this case, Ironhide is a little bit more focused on blocking. And then blocking is something that you can do to help yourself, or you could also do it to help other players as well. Ironhide is meant to be tough, and this art represents that well. The rules fit for that too. For Bumblebee, so here's his alt mode. So essentially, this allows you to explore for free as a scout, typically. It makes a lot of sense. Here is his bot mode. So allies typically are humans. So in this case, it kind of makes sense that Bumblebee is going to be focused around like allies as one of his abilities here. All right, move on from Bumblebee. Of course, we have Optimus Prime. So we have the alt mode here. So when you flip an adversary in your space, +1 power, and you may transform prior to the image. So yeah, if you're going to see it soon, probably, but this is significantly different than other deck builders, where you're going to have, they call it the matrix that you want to explore, and that's kind of where you flip cards up, and then you interact with those cards. You can buy them into your discard pile, or if they are enemies, you're able to battle them. So Prime is kind of able to kind of react to that type of situation. And then here is his bot mode. Bonuses for playing Autobots. And then, again, bit of a blocker. Range 2 block seems to be pretty far compared to what other characters can do. But again, with Prime, it does make sense that he's out there supporting his fellow Autobots. And then let's just get Jazz, because the focus is a little bit better right now. So again, here's Jazz in his alt mode. A little bit more mobile. You can teleport one space, so you can just kind of move that one space. And sorry, movement also typically is going to be done orthogonally. So you're going to be able to go up, down, left, or right. Typically not diagonal, but I believe the teleport will get around that. So does flight, by the way. And then here, so Jazz is, if he's on a site, so kind of like locations that can flip up, he gets bonuses for that. Which, he's someone who was shown as being a fan of Earth. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think all of the sites in the starter here are focused around Earth. So it makes sense that he kind of is out there exploring the world and seeing what's going on. Those are our characters. From here, I'm going to start to dig into the other cards, but I'm going to open them up first. Let's begin by talking about the starter cards that you're going to get. You're going to have 10 cards to begin with. And if you're familiar with deck building games, everybody's going to begin with the same 10 cards. And then from there, what you're trying to do is you're trying to improve your deck. And you'll be able to pick cards that are out there in the matrix to be able to do that. So when you have those 10 cards, 6 of them will be courage, right? And then when you play it, that's going to give you 1 power. And then every card that you play, you're going to be able to kind of accumulate basically a bank of power. And then here, again, anytime that you see the symbol, you're able to pay Energon to activate that effect. So again, everybody's going to have 6 copies of courage in their starting hand. You have also reserves. So basically the idea is, in this case, it gives you 1 movement when you play it. And then if you have 3 or fewer Energon, then you're able to get Energon. So it lets you get more Energon if need be. Fix is going to allow you to return 1 damage controlled by any player in your space or an adjacent space to the stack. So it allows you to get rid of damage, which kind of goes in front of you on the table. Now, if you are playing a competitive game, those damage cards force you to kind of accept assistance from other players when you do things like battle adversaries or bosses. In the cooperative or the solo mode, if any player has 5 damage that they control, which means that like it's theirs, then the game is over and you lose. And then here, if you pay 1 Energon, you can destroy 1 starter card that you control. We also have Patrol, so 1 movement, and you can also flip a card in an adjacent space face up. So kind of allows you to explore without having to spend any additional movement. And then you also have Firepower, which is 2 power and 1 range. Now, range is going to kind of be, if I had to take a guess, the trickiest thing for people to get their head around. But the basic idea is that cards that have range allow you to affect spaces that are, that number away. So in this case, 1 range, you can affect cards that are 1 space away from you, which means that you could either purchase them or you could, if there's an adversary, you could battle them. If you are trying to block or assist another player, it would also, like, range factors into that as well. But the thing is that, like, for here, let's say if I had played Courage as well, I'd have a bank essentially of 3 power. This gives me 1 range, but the 2 power that are here, like the 2 power with this card, those are the only power that I could spend to affect something that's 1 range away. This power on Courage I could only use to affect or buy or battle, whatever it might be, something that's in my own space. I think the only exception to that might be if for some reason, like the character that you're playing has built-in range. But again, that's kind of theoretical. I'm not 100% sure about that. Those are our starters. 2 other cards I want to mention before I kind of dig into kind of cards that would be in the main deck. So Transform and Rollout, these are always going to be available for you to buy, and you can buy them from anywhere in the matrix that you might be. Cost you 2, and that's that number up top here. The battery, the yellow symbol here, is power. You use that to buy a card. You also use that to battle. We talked about range a little bit already, and then movement gives you spaces in order to move. And then here, in addition to, like, when you play this from your hand onto the table, in addition to getting, like, these resources here that you can then use to do things in the game, when you play the card, you're also able to trigger the effect that might be there. So here, for example, you can transform without having to spend Energon. And then if you play this to assist another player during that moment, like if someone is fighting a boss next to you, and you play this in order to contribute to that. Rather than it counting for just 1 power, it would instead count for 2 because you are assisting. And the other card, of course, is going to be damage. And as I mentioned before, so when you are battling an adversary, you have to accept assist from other players. And I believe that the number that you have to assist is equal to the number of damage that you have. And that's in competitive. Okay, in cooperative, you are always able to assist. And then assisting kind of like is a way that you essentially more or less are able to poach victory points from other players, because you can either play this completely cooperatively or semi-cooperatively. If you play it semi-cooperatively, like you're still trying to go through, defeat the bosses and all that type of stuff, but you are trying to have more points at the end of it. So here, for every 2 damage that you have, you lose 1 victory point. And when you gain this, you put it into play. It does not go into your deck. So it kind of stays on your play area in front of you there. And again, as a reminder, if you are playing the solo or the fully co-op modes, if you have 5 damage, then you lose. Let's start to go through the cards that comprise the main deck. And these are cards that will kind of be in the matrix. You'll be out there exploring it and going from there. Don't worry, like we're going to do many more videos. Again, right now, I just wanted to take a look at these. Mainly, I want to see the art here. So these are the Autobots. One type of card that you're going to interact with will be robots. Now, if you're playing as Autobots, then you'll be recruiting them into your deck. So that's the cost right there. If you purchase them, RC costs 2 power. She would then go into your discard, right? And then next time that when your deck that you're drawing from, when that runs out, when you shuffle your deck, like you'll be able to put her into play when you draw her. So here she has a block ability. So there are going to be certain effects that you can block. And then, here, when you play RC to block, you also get 2 Energon as well. You're also able to activate this effect by paying 1 Energon. Now, generally, as an Autobot, you're not going to be battling other Autobots. However, there are some cards that do allow that to be a possibility. If that happens, if you battle RC, then you get this bottom kind of like reward effect. So you would get a victory point. In addition to that, at least in competitive mode, you also have a vault where like you keep certain cards that you defeat kind of go like face down into your vault. And it's kind of like a secret number so that the other players around the table can't be 100% sure about what your victory points might be at any time. We also have Brawn. So here, Brawn, you kind of get some bonuses for playing other Autobots. You have Mirage. When you use him to block, you're able to teleport 1 space. And then avoiding ambushes, pretty cool. So Bumblebee looking pretty rugged over here. Gaining the 1 ally seems to be a pretty good ability, especially because allies seem as if they are usually fairly expensive. And you can see here sometimes the rewards that you get for battling, it can be more than just getting victory points. So there's Bumblebee. I'm trying not to spend too much time here. So here, Cliff Jumper lets you kind of peek at your deck. Hound, you get bonuses for maneuvers. Prowl, boarding schemes, you get 2 VP if you do. Seems pretty thematic for Prowl. I do wish that we gotten some either like Alex Milne or Nick Roche art rather than kind of like this is that weird awkward time in the comics when they were kind of doing a mix of like the G1 style and kind of like the Michael Bay type of style. We have Jazz over here. Again, bonuses for blocking. If using a block, you draw a card, you get an Energon. We have Wheeljack over here. I don't think there's anything to stop you. Like if you are playing Wheeljack, I don't think there's anything to stop you from purchasing Wheeljack into your deck. But again, a lot like his character mode, you do get bonuses for playing technology. So for Prime, you can put 1 Autobot from your discard pile on top of your deck. So you can kind of bring Autobots back that you've already played in the previous turn. Seems pretty good. Ratchet, you can destroy 1 card that you control. So especially later in the game, you're going to want to thin your deck down to kind of like your more powerful cards. That'd be helpful. We have Ironhide over here. Again, bonus when you block, it's draw 2 cards. And then we had mentioned Sunstreaker. These are the 2 from that promo pack. Again, you kind of see him a little bit easier there. Focus is hopefully better. And then same thing for Sideswipe. Again, I like that he's kind of thematically that you want to see Sunstreaker when you play Sideswipe too. And then in general, I like that for a lot of the cards that have Transformers that they kind of like extend beyond the borders of the card, like gives them a very dynamic feel. So those are our Autobots. Let's kind of quickly take a look at the Decepticons. Now, again, for the most part, you are playing as Autobots here. You're going to be battling Decepticons. You are usually going to be getting the reward, you're typically not going to be able to play them. However, again, there are some cards that allow you to do that, and you'll see them in a little bit. What's kind of neat here is I pointed this out when we saw some preview images. Some characters have a type, like here in this case, Rumble is a mini cassette, which is pretty neat. So we've got Rumble, we have Laserbeak. So Flight allows you so that when you move, you do not have to go orthogonally, up, down, left, right. You can instead go diagonally with Flight. So again, pretty cool. Ravage. Sweet looking Ravage art. Kickback. Scavenger. Again, notice we have a type here, Constructicon. Skywarp. Of course, you can teleport. That's awesome. Scrapper. Shrapnel. Ooh, notice we have Shrapnel. We don't have Scrapnel. I like it. Wonder why that is. Intriguing. We have Brawl, right? But as far as I can tell, no Combaticon trait, which is interesting. We have Bone Crusher. We have Thundercracker. Like that Thundercracker is getting some respect, right? 5 cost. Bombshell. Again, Bombshell, not Hardshell. I forget. No, I think we had Bombshell. Had that name used. And again, so we have these are the promo cards. We have Frenzy. I like that, off the bat, that Renegade's not afraid to establish that they believe that Rumble is black and red, and Frenzy is that blue color. And we have Vortex as well. Okay, so those are our Decepticon cards. I'm going to take a quick look now. So these are the technology cards. For these, there's going to be 2 of each type of card in the deck. So we have the Ground Bridge, and if you use the block, you get that effect. And then you can also spend Energon to teleport to any space, and other characters that are in your space may choose to teleport with you. So pretty neat. Again, there's 2 copies of that. We have the Repair Bay, which allows you to destroy cards that you control. You could get rid of damage if need be. And then you can also, if you want, spend some Energon in order to either specifically get rid of damage or get rid of more damage. You can also do it for other players. We have Galactic Positioning System. So you get to draw cards for bosses that are in the Matrix. The Energon Drill gives you Energon. If you're on a site, you get 3 instead. Teletrain 1, you get to peek at 1 face-down card in the Matrix, and peek means that you know what's there, but other players do not. So if you're playing competitive, part of what you might want to do is you may want to mess with the other players and force them to get ambushed by enemies. You have Energy Swords here. So if you block, you can pay 2 Energon to keep this card in your hand after blocking, so you don't have to get rid of it. And then you can pay Energon to get +2 power in addition to the 2 that you normally get. We have a Dropship, so you may move target character up to 2 spaces. We have a Force Dome, so if you block, you get to draw a card. If you block for another player, gain 1 victory point instead. And then you can also spend Energon to get extra victory points. Those are our technology cards. Next up, we have Maneuvers. So we have Jump, gives you Flight, and there's going to be 2 of each of these. We have Recon, you can flip a card in an adjacent space face up. And if you are confronting, so kind of like if you are, I forget whether confronting is specifically bosses or if it's just if you are fighting any adversary, but playing the top card of your deck could be pretty powerful for 1, especially if it's later in the game and you've thinned out your deck to the better stuff. You have Quick Change, gives you a free transform. If it's the first card that you play during your turn, discard your hand and draw 3 cards. So if you're not liking your current hand, this might be something that allows you to improve it. We have Helping Hand. So here you get bonuses if you block or assist. We have Heroic Effort. +1 power for each adversary boss in play, so it allows you to kind of pump things up if you're about to fight bosses. Same thing down here. We have Charge, so gives you both movement, gives you power, and also gives you Energon when you play it. You can kind of boost that up by spending Energon. We have Dodge, so if you use the block, you get 2 cards. Pretty powerful over here. We have More Than Meets the Eye, allows you to transform. 3 power, pretty good. And then if you're using this to assist, you can spend the Energon for extra power and range. Okay, those are our maneuvers. Next up are locations. So these are there's 1 copy of each of these here. And for some of them, so you're not able to get these into your deck. It seems that a lot of them do have different effects that tell you when to get rid of them. So for the Energon Mine, the large one, it tells you to place 12 Energon from the general supply on the card, and you can basically pay power to get Energon. And then once you've taken all the Energon off the card, it goes away. And then for a small Energon Mine, it's the same idea, but it's only 8. For Autobot Base, let's see, you can pay 2 move to return up to 2 damage that you control to the stack. But if you're playing co-op, then you have to pay 4 move to do that instead. Guessing that they want to make it a little bit more difficult to get rid of damage cards. With Military Base, cards you play during your turn while on this site have +1 range. During other players' turns, your cards have +2 range. So it allows you to kind of project your power a little bit further. We have the Arctic. So here you can pay 2 move to put 1 card from your discard pile on top of the deck. It would be very powerful. So for the Desert, you pay 3 power and allows you to gain the top card of the main deck. If it's an adversary, destroy the site. Place that adversary in the space instead and resolve an ambush. So it seems like the Desert is a spot where you could be ambushed. And then for the City, you can pay 2 move, and then you gain 1 face-up ally from the Matrix. If there's no allies there, you draw a card instead. Those are our sites. Next up, we have Relics. These are only used in the competitive mode of play. They cost a bit more, but they have pretty strong effects. The idea with Relics is that you have to kind of time when you want to, how long you want to kind of play them, and then when you want to put them into your vault. So you only get this effect if you put them into your vault. And it tells you here that when you put it into your discard pile, you may put it into your vault instead. So I think that you could choose when you purchase it from the matrix that's out there to then put it directly into your vault. Or if you choose to put it into your discard so that you can play it on a future turn, you have to be careful with the time, because if you wait too long and the game ends before you think it's going to, then you might not get these VPs. But again, they're going to have powerful effects. In this case, you gain 1 robot from the Matrix. If there's none out there, you get 2 Energon instead. And, you know, some of those robots are expensive, right? Notice also, this is how you get Decepticons into your deck if you're playing an Autobot, because it does not specify that you get an Autobot. We have the Polarity Gauntlet. So here, flip a card in an adjacent space face up, or gain 1 non-robot card with cost 5 or less in an adjacent space. Pretty powerful. We have a Phase Shifter. You can avoid all ambushes that you draw this turn. Also pretty good. We have a Resonance Blaster. Defeat all adjacent adversaries with cost 5 or less. That seems to be pretty good. Toxin. So here, this card is revealed in your space, or you move on to it, you lose 3 Energon. Doesn't seem great. Trying to think why you might, I guess the reveal. I don't know. I'm trying to think why you want to have this in your deck. I don't know. We'll see. And then we have Jetfire. Interestingly, he's a relic. So here, just powerful, right? 4 power, 2 range, 2 movement. He's got flight. Just seems good. Those were our relics. Next up, these are allies. So allies are different from other cards that you get from the Matrix. These kind of like go into play and they stay in play. So rather than them going into your deck, like these kind of go into your play area in front of you, and then they have an ongoing effect that you get the benefit from. We have Spike. This is the IDW version of Spike, who is this kind of like big bad special ops type of guy. So he boosts up the first courage that you play, that starter card, makes it a little bit stronger. Verity, of course, my Wreckers people, we know Verity. Basically allows you, if you don't like your hand, to get rid of it. Also allows you to cycle your deck a bit. So if you want something that's in your discard, helps you get through your deck a little bit faster. Sparkplug, which again, this is the IDW version where he's kind of like a general type of guy. Here, start of turn, put 1 starter from your discard pile into your hand. But essentially, it kind of like raises your hand size from 5 to something higher. Military Airstrike, you can destroy 1 card that's in your hand. We have Kyle Pennington. I'm blanking on who this guy is. Once during each player's turn, if you're confronting or assisting, target card that you control has +1 power, gives it a boost. And military transport, you're able to move 1 during your turn, okay, for free. Those are the allies. Next up, these are Decepticon schemes, and these are basically just bad things that can pop up that you need to deal with. So in this case, place every ally in the matrix and in play underneath this card as hostages. If there's none, then you discard this card. And then if you pay 4 power, you can gain 1 random ally under this while on the space. If there's no allies, you destroy the card. So here, seems good. I mean, like if you wanted, somebody else has allies and you flip this up, this could basically let you steal them. But of course, if you have an ally, you're going to be sad that you lost them. Space Bridge is Cybertron. It costs you 2 more power to defeat adversaries. To get rid of it, you need to resolve an assist that you placed. Magnetized Core. Each player's alt mode has 0 move. Yikes. So really slows you down. To thwart it, you have to buy, gain, and or defeat 2 cards in the Matrix in a single turn. All-out Assault. Let's see here. So you must treat all battles against adversaries as confrontations, which are kind of a step up. So I think that it essentially makes even a fight against a normal Decepticon robot kind of into a boss fight. And you have to block an attack against another player during any player's turn to get rid of it. I think this is specifically called out in the rulebook that if you're playing solo with just 1 character, that you can't get rid of it. So like it's kind of a damage spike that you might have to deal with. Divided loyalties. Robots in the Matrix are treated as adversaries. So now Autobots are against you as well. And then to get rid of it, you have to pay for energy. And then when you do thwart it, then you get the it goes into your vault account for that. One other thing that I forgot to mention is, like, it wouldn't count for this because it's talking about the vault, but anything that tells you that you gain VPs in co-op or solo, instead that gives you energy. If you want to up your difficulty, you can ignore that rule and just VPs count for nothing. So these here are the Decepticon boss cards, and there are level 1, level 2, and level 3 bosses. And when you play, you're going to be facing 1 of each level randomly that you determine, and they kind of get randomly put into the Matrix. We're going to talk about setup in a future video. Don't sweat it. It's going to be okay. There's Soundwave, right? Now, bosses, when they're revealed, they have a reveal attack. I then think that you also need to resolve an ambush, which it tells you right here. So on a reveal, you have to discard an ally. And then bosses either have like ongoing or start of turn effects here. So in this case, there's that. So here's where that mini cassette thing comes into play. Soundwave cannot be defeated. while any mini cassettes are in the Matrix. Decepticon mini cassettes. The other level 1 boss is Astro Train. So again, reveal attack, and he has an ongoing effect. Level 2, we have Starscream. Reveal attack, start a turn effect. We also have Blitzwing. Give you a second to read. Level 3, we of course have Megatron. That's kind of a womp womp. Like if you had a 5 cost, like, I don't know, Optimus Prime, Ratchet, and it's the top card of your deck, you have to get rid of it. Not fun. Or like a Relic, yee. And we also have Devastator. So he's got a reveal and start of turn effect, scary. And then also a start of turn effect too. So those are the bosses. We also have, these are cooperative schemes. You only use this in co-op, or I assume solo mode as well. So they're just additional schemes other than the Decepticon schemes. So we've got Mass Extermination, Energon Embargo. We have an Orbital Laser. Stolen Power. Rising Darkness. Like the gladiatorial Megatron art here. I think it's from Megatron Origins. A lot of the cards are from the IDW comics. A lot of them are from the early ones. Like a very infiltration type of vibe to it. I do see some other ones though as well. So these are encounter cards. So when you are ambushed, so when you're on a space and it flips over and it is a Decepticon robot, then this would happen, right? And then here, if it's a boss confrontation, then there's this effect. So it kind of can trigger for both. So not going to spend too much time on these. I'll just kind of go through quickly. Casualties of war, outmaneuvered, EMP, crushing blow, undermined, power fluctuation, underestimated, out of guess, and uphill battle. Do note that you guys can see here different art on the back of these, and I like that art a lot actually. So these will never go into your deck. So if you are sleeving cards, in order to make your life easier, it may not hurt to have these in a different color if you're not using clear sleeves. And for the heck of it, damage also should not go into your deck, I don't think. But they do have this back here. So, I don't know, just in case it might not hurt just to keep these in whatever sleeves you're using for your other ones too. And I think that's it. So those right there, I just went through all the cards. My bad, just kidding. They give you guys some copies of reference cards as well. This tells you what you do on your turn sequence. And then on the other side, it tells you for battles what you do for that. I'm pretty excited. So I'm also jealous that I'm not going to be able to get to play this yet. And again, what's going to happen is I'm going to get these over to the rest of the crew. They will hopefully start to get some games in there, get some impressions done, etc., etc., etc. And then I'm also intending to kind of do some how to play type of videos as well. I appreciate you guys checking in. I appreciate you hanging out while I kind of ramble and talk about all this type of stuff. And stick around for more Transformers deck building game stuff by Rec and Rule. Thank you and adios. And you know that I couldn't stop there. I'm very badly itching to actually try this out. Unfortunately, it's 11 p.m. at night, and that's not going to happen because I do have work tomorrow. But I did want to kind of just give you guys a feel for how this would play. Let's say that I'm playing Jazz, right? Now, at the beginning of the game, I believe that you can kind of teleport anywhere that you want to on into the Matrix. Now, for a 1 to 2 player game, you're on this kind of 3x4 grid. If you have a higher player count, the number, like this changes based upon how many players you have. So I'm going to throw Jazz here. Okay. And then the way it works is you would already have a hand of 5 cards. And then if you've never played a deck building game, then basically like you play those cards from your hand kind of like onto the table, and then you start to bank the resources there. You can also play any effects that might be there. So I've got 3 copies of Courage, and unless I want to spend Energon, but we're not confronting anyway right now, they just give me 1 power, right? So by playing these, I've now banked up 3 power. But I've got no move yet, right? So I've got this space I can move around, but as of right now, I don't have movement to be able to spend. These 2 cards, though, do each have movement. So let's do reserves. So when I play it, it's going to give me 1 movement. In addition to that, if I control 3 or fewer Energon, I can gain an Energon. So depending how much I already had, I might get some Energon out of it, but I do now have 1 movement, right? So let's spend it. So I'm going to use that 1 move, and I'm just going to go to here. Okay. Now, from there, I'm going to play my last card, which is Patrol. So it's going to give me another movement, and then it's going to allow me to flip a card in an adjacent space face up. So when I play it, I can activate that ability. We'll flip this up, and it is Hound, right? So Hound costs 3 for me to buy him. So I do have 3 from playing Courage. So I'll buy Hound. Hound will then go into my discard. So next time I have to shuffle my hand, he might pop out. They also recommend that when you use movement from a card that you that you turn it sideways, which I'll do. And then I have 1 movement left over from Patrol that I can spend. And I think that what I will do is, for the heck of it, I'll use that. I can search, which means that you can flip over the card face up that you're on. In this case, it is a Decepticon. It is Bombshell. Now, what I would then have to do is I'd have to resolve an encounter, specifically an ambush. So I'd have to do that top part right there and handle that. So, I mean, we're going to go through all of this, but this is significantly different than other deck building games because, again, usually there's just 1 row that you interact with. But here, like, you're moving around the board. This is much more like a board game. I'm very excited to try this out. I'm a little bit sad that this is going to go out to the rest of the crew before I get to really mess around with it. But again, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a feel for how it's going to go. Okay? I hope that you guys are doing great. Wreck and Rule.